Hello, and welcome to LinkedIn Live. Today, our session is LinkedIn strategy. What is the best balance of content types? And let's do a quick tech check. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Leave me a comment. And we'll get into it. I see people are coming in. Welcome. So glad to see you and have you here. Just remember, I can't tell who you are. I can't welcome you personally unless you leave a comment. Then I get to see your name. And today, as I mentioned, we're talking about the best balance of content types, especially on LinkedIn. And I have my special guest here today, Richie Petawa. And if you're a native German speaker, you can laugh at me and I'm trying my best to speak German. So welcome. This is LinkedIn Live Strategy, the best balance of content types, because I often get the question, but Elizabeth, what should I post? And Richie is here with a wealth of knowledge, just a gold mine of knowledge, especially for LinkedIn. He's got social media strategy, thought leadership, and this one's very dear to my heart, empowering others to jump in and get involved in the ever-changing digital landscape. So if we haven't met before, hi, I'm Elizabeth, joining you live from Vienna, Austria. And I'm a verbal branding expert, empowering my clients to show up and speak up using their voice, their words, their knowledge, their skills to show up as confident leaders and expand their influence. And my guest, as I mentioned, is Richie Petawa, who is a thought leader in all things social selling and LinkedIn. And this is a LinkedIn Live about LinkedIn Lives. It's a little bit meta, no? I think it is. So we're taking this to the next level. And it's all about getting your name, your face, your voice in front of the people who want to hear from you. Who are waiting to hear from you, right? And making those connections. That's really what it's about. And today we are talking specifically about publishing on LinkedIn. Now, I know on my phone, I'm seeing a lot of people popping in and being live, but I'm testing out Restream today and they're showing 0 people here. So go ahead and leave me a comment. Let's see if we can manage that and get everything. Yeah, I see we have 32 people here. Welcome. Hello. Tell me if you can see me, if you can hear me, and where you're listening in from. Great. So we're talking about publishing on LinkedIn. What, how, when, and we're talking about data-driven decisions without overwhelm. If that sounds interesting to you, this session's for you. And feel free to share it with others. Go ahead and reshare. There's a little reshare button, repost button. You can post it on your feed or share it with others you specifically think would benefit. And now I want to welcome my guest. So Richie, come on up. Hello and welcome. Let's do a sound check for you. See if I can.
1, 2, 3. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
Crystal clear. Now I'm following along on my phone. I see we have 35 people and I see 0 comments. So I'm hoping they can hear us and see us. Give me some comments. Show us some love. Would appreciate that. Great. Okay, so let's move on. Welcoming. And yeah, let us know what you can see and hear. And I love calling people's names out. Like, I'm such a fan when people call my name out. I feel so seen. So good. Richie, how are you today? And where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Wels today, from Upper Austria. It's a beautiful sunny day. I was just mowing my lawn before we started, and I'm looking forward to an interesting and relaxed life with you. So, like you mentioned, it's all about empowering more people to become a part of this content game. Especially on LinkedIn, we still have a relatively small percentage of users who actively post, and an even lower percentage who consistently post.
Yes, I think it's like less than 1%. Is that accurate?
It depends on which time frame you're looking at. So if you're looking at a minimum posting frequency of 1 post per quarter, so that equals 4 posts a year, that's not much, and also shares factor in here, then we're talking about a little less than 8%. If
Okay.
we talk about monthly posts, it's a little less than 4%. And with weekly posts, we are in the area of 1%. And this is
Okay.
growing, but on a very low level still.
Wow. So it's pretty easy to jump to the top 5%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy. I would
If
not have guessed that.
Yeah, it is a completely different impression that you could get in the newsfeed, and of course, social media always tends to mess with our sense of scale, so to speak, because we see a lot of these very successful posts, and you get to see posts with hundreds of likes or maybe even thousands of comments. But the reality is that more than 95% of posts receive less than 1% interaction. So
Wow.
even if you get a couple of likes from your network, you're even in the top 5% here. So it may seem like a big hurdle, but actually it's all about motivating yourself and beginning.
I love that. And I feel like even if I was a quick, busy person and I was just here for that one little 2-minute segment of gold you dropped, I feel like this would be worth it for today. I mean,
Thank you.
truly, no, this is so important to have that perspective because, as you said, what we're being fed all the time is we're not good enough. The barrier to entry is too big. Why bother trying? And you're just saying, no, it's not accurate
And
at all.
there is only one 100% guaranteed option how to fail with your content strategy. And that is not posting at all, not commenting at all. Then you will definitely fail. If you do anything else, you will achieve a little bit more than nothing in any case. So there's only a lot of gain here. And uh, what I also meant when I spoke of messing with our sense of scale before, um, it's a B2B network. There's no need for everybody to become an influencer. I spent humongous times on LinkedIn, but I have a good excuse. I'm a LinkedIn trainer. I do a lot of workshops. Sites are always open, but normally you have to find a way to integrate that into your workflow. It's not much use if you have a day where you have very little meetings or enough time on your hands, and then you post 3 or 5 times, and the next couple of weeks nothing is happening.
Nothing.
Um,
Yeah.
we need to implement some form of consistency here, and motivation. In the there are two. I always call them siblings: FOMO and FOBO.
Oh, yeah.
FOMO, the fear of missing out, is what drives people to take a look into the newsfeed. A lot of people do it these days. And FOBO is fear of public opinion. That's what keeps a lot of people from voicing their opinion. So,
Right.
but it's a little step, and like you said before, feedback is very motivating. But what's also motivating is a general sense or a general perspective of playfulness. That
Mm,
is personally my favorite approach, because there is so many things here today we can experiment with. AI, brilliant tools. So for example, right now I'm using a audio plugin, and someone is mowing their lawn right outside my house. Yeah, that's really brilliant. Like 5 years ago, I would have needed an isolated sound booth for that. But
right.
what do people do instead? They tell ChatGPT, uh, author a LinkedIn status update for me. It's not going to happen that way. But we need to be more willing to experiment with these tools. That's what I mean by playfulness. And if something doesn't work out, that also gives you some insights on what not to try next time.
Yes. 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 I love it. Like people say, planning to fail or failing to plan is planning to fail. And I always say, yeah, but I actually want to plan to fail because that's part of my experimenting. That's part of my learning. Like I'm trying new things and pushing my boundaries. But first, I want to circle back for a second. And if someone's just tapping in right now, we're at the 10-minute mark, someone's tapping in right now and listening and joining right now, trying to understand what you do, the services you offer, what do you think they would get from this session?
Some
What?
ideas some insights into how the algorithm works. I'm a part of the Just Connecting Hub, and we do our ongoing and yearly algorithm research. So there's a lot of statistical data that we use, and that gives you some ideas about the general scope of things. But of course, we do not do blueprints, content blueprints, or whatever, like so many people these days. Um, there is a huge difference between a properly styled, formatted post and the same post not optimized. But it's all about the topic. You need to identify the right topics for your network. You cannot use any tricks or trick the algorithm into distributing a topic that's uninteresting, because ultimately it's not the algorithm that decides, but your network, your connections. So more specifically, the first people who get to see your post. So whenever you hit publish, LinkedIn will pick more or less a random group from your first connections and display that post. And depending on their reactions, the algorithm will display your post further, or it won't. So, given the fact that LinkedIn has a relatively small number of active publishers, we also need to consider that there is also a relatively small percentage of people interacting in the newsfeed. So we have a large silent, it's not a minority actually, it's a majority of people who read the stuff that we post, but no matter whether they like it or not, they are not going to publish a comment or like the post. So LinkedIn had to figure out how to factor in these people into the equation. If your algorithm is based on social signals and you have a large portion of users who do not produce any social signals, what can you do instead?
Yes.
Same thing that YouTube has been doing for years, actually measure the time spent with the content. So, in other words, answer the question A, is someone clicking on see more or read more? And are they spending time with your post? And of course, that depends a lot on the type of the post. Obviously, a short text post will require a lot less time to read it in full than, say, a presentation
Or
with
a live
10
video.
slides or a live video.
Speaking of which, I'm just checking my LinkedIn Live now because I try not to use too much bandwidth, and it looks blank to me. It looks like we can't see us, but yet we have 34 people here listening live. So if you can leave a comment, just a thumbs up, a Y for yes. Can you see me? Can you hear me? I would appreciate that feedback so much because I'm not getting it, and I don't know if it's a bandwidth topic or what, but leave a comment because I think it would be strange for 33 people to be in a silent room waiting for us. I don't know. And I saw our countdown. Do you see us there? Because when I first checked, we were there. Do you see us, Richie?
I just checked on my browser. Yeah,
Yeah, we're there.
it's
Okay,
working
then I'm
fine. Yeah,
just going to ignore my phone. So that was
just
false feedback, false news, fake news.
yeah. That sometimes there's issues when you're the publisher of the stream. It's all for such a huge platform. Live streaming still is a little buggy. But
Yeah.
if you have ever published a post on LinkedIn, just post an emoji of your choice into the chat.
Yay! In fact, I love that idea. Post an emoji of your choice into the chat. If you've ever posted anything, let's get some engagement here. That's the point of live streaming for me. We want that engagement. We want your questions and feedback and interaction. So that was actually, yeah, my question. What are you posting? If you can do more than an emoji, let us know. Do you like the polls, the posts, the images, videos, live, newsletter? What are you doing? And for you, Richie, while they're, you know, caressing our chat window over there, I'm going to start with a really basic question here. Start with a really basic question since you have deep insight about LinkedIn. What are the different formats we can use? So, not speaking about the topics or the themes, but just like what are our options? Obviously, LinkedIn Live is an option, LinkedIn live streaming, but what else? What are the different formats and pros, cons, anything you see going on with that?
LinkedIn actually does have a wide range of formats that you can pick. There is even long text format, LinkedIn articles or newsletters, and there's a wide range of newsfeed posts. So starting from text only postings, shared posts, single image, galleries, documents, videos even. So all these formats, if you look at the large picture, there are some differences. Some formats perform a little better or a little worse than others. But what we did find out this year, and this I think is super interesting, um, we all have our favorite formats. Some people like to publish galleries, some people like to publish single images. That is the most common format of post, by the way. Almost 50% in the feed are image plus text. But the point is, the LinkedIn algorithm awards if you make use of different formats. So what we saw, if you consecutively 3 times or more publish the same format, like image and text, your reach will go down. So that fact alone is a very good reason to switch between formats sometimes. Sometimes publish a poll. I know that video is not everybody's cup of tea. And over the last couple of years, I have been reading many, many times that video is a must in social media. That might very well be true on TikTok or even on Instagram these days, considering the importance of stories. It is not. It is a powerful media, but it's not a must on LinkedIn. But there's also, like I said, document option. Um, Even text only posts do not perform that bad. But there is one thing to consider: really short posts, like the old tweet length of
Ooh,
160 characters, where you don't get to see more. These really short posts don't perform too well because they don't generate a lot of dwell time, unless, for
and that
example, you
see
combine,
more.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
unless you combine them with a document that generates a lot of reading time. But as a general guideline, it is a good idea to make use of different formats. You don't have to use all of them, but always sticking to the same pattern, definitely not the best idea.
Uh-huh. I love that. That's so insightful because I often hear buzzword of be consistent, be consistent, be consistent. And you're saying actually don't add that extra stress. Like try this one. Want to try a post? Do that one. And that will increase the reach of your consistent text posts or article posts or whatever you happen to do on the regular. Very insightful. And I'm seeing comments from Michelle. Hi, Michelle. So glad to have you here. And Michelle is listening in because she's a dear friend of mine. I know she's listening in from Florida. So we are reaching
Oh,
across the globe
sunny
here.
Florida. We get
Yeah.
lovely oranges from you guys,
Yeah. That is that and cruise ships that too. Well, not
and cruise ships, and cruise
and
ships.
not in
Correct.
Austria specifically, but yeah. We don't have the coastline, but this is great. So all of these different options and I think many times we just see the feed and I forget about carousels until one shows up and I forget about polls until one shows up. And so that's a really nice memory or reminder there. How about some aha moments? Anyone listening in, what have you heard so far that was for you a light bulb moment or something you heard you don't want to forget? Go ahead and leave that in the comments. And I'm trying to see the comments. But as Richie mentioned already, sometimes live streaming still like glitchy a little bit, but we work with it so we can connect and have this real meaningful connection in real time. And that's what's important for me. So let's slide into the next topic. So we have an overview of topics and we have a strategy of, if we're posting once a week, if we're publishing once a week, this is awesome. This is putting us in the top 5% or top 10%. I forget the number, sorry. But now what are we going to be posting about? What are the topics? And I know there are different pillars that we talk about, but there's also the be authentic, share your personal stories, industry knowledge. And you're posting about chili peppers, I've seen. And, just how do you navigate that space? Can you help us think through that together?
It's a tricky combination, I would say, because on the one hand, it's a B2B network, and we want to demonstrate our expertise and our thought leadership to our network, because ultimately that is what builds trust and what makes us an interesting business partner for the clients we are trying to reach. So why post about chili peppers? There are always two sides to LinkedIn content, and you have to be very clear about the distinction between corporate content, which is normally published on company pages, and personal content. LinkedIn is focused on personal content. The overwhelming majority of organic content in the feed is published by people, not by brands. We are very interested in people, and people don't talk like brands. The way our communication works, so to speak, um, it's it's really based on storytelling, and I'm not talking about storytelling blueprints like a hero's journey here, but we remember information if facts are combined with emotion. And that is just the way our brain works. That is very closely connected to the way our brain stores long information in the long run. And I think it's an effect that we all know from our time in school. There are only two ways to remember things. Either they touch you emotionally or via a lot of repetition. And repetition is not that powerful.
Drilling
I
it
mean,
in.
yeah, we easily and quite quickly tend to forget these things again. Just imagine how much facts we learned for our school test. So if you're talking about business topics, facts and figures, specifications of software products, so how to create emotion by integrating your personal authentic viewpoints. And this is a very important part of personal branding, and it's often misunderstood. Personal branding means that your views, your expertise is recognizable, and that you do things in your certain personal, that you do things your way, like Frank is saying. I did it my way. That's actually summing up personal branding pretty well.
Yeah.
And that has two effects. Some people will feel more attracted to you, and others will feel a lot less attracted. So
Yeah.
strong branding always works both ways. So somebody who, for whatever reason, I cannot possibly imagine one, hates dogs, or someone who does not like spicy food, I can imagine quite some reasons for that. They might not find my content that appealing. They might still read it because they're interested in the LinkedIn tips. But it's one of the things that makes me recognizable. So obviously here the message is not everybody post more about chili peppers. The message is post more about dogs. No, uh, seriously though, try to combine your expertise with
To put it
personal
together.
anecdotes. That's what makes interesting LinkedIn content. And there's always the book. You can play by the book. But I was quite surprised this year. I did a little video about axe throwing. I like knife throwing and axe throwing a lot. And just for fun, I published it on LinkedIn on a Sunday. And I put a lot of effort into my video tutorials, but my axe throwing tutorial was my most viewed video on LinkedIn. And it's been a couple of weeks, but a lot of people remember that.
Yeah,
And
it's stuck in my brain.
yeah,
Totally
exactly.
stuck. I mean, that is
Yeah,
brain stick hardcore
yeah,
because I see many, 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 many posts in my feed on LinkedIn, about what to post, about content strategy. And it all becomes kind of this wash of gray. Even
yeah,
when it's gold,
yeah.
the context it's not shocking, it's not surprising. But then I saw you with a machete and throwing axes. What is happening here? Brain stick.
Yeah, and that is also, of course, that is something that does not fit the usual pattern. And of course, it's not going to help me land any clients if I constantly publish knife throwing videos, because I'm
Unless you're
not in
selling
the
knives.
I'm not in the business of selling knives yet. Maybe that changes. Um, uh,
I want to
this
say
is
one comment. I just noticed we have 49 people here.
awesome,
Ah,
awesome.
high
Wow,
five.
wow.
Welcome, welcome. A 51. Oh, I'm bringing them just by saying
Thank you very
it.
much for
Yeah,
watching
welcome,
and listening
welcome.
in.
And I mean, what we're talking about here today is wow, really good stuff. Right now, we're talking about the balance. If you just showed up, we're talking about the balance of what to post and definitely establishing your authority, your credibility. This is essential. Being honest and true with your the way you speak, the way you sound, the words you use normally, because there's never a good thing when you start your first call with your client or start your
Yeah,
first conversation
yeah,
and there's a mismatch. Like that's never a good
yeah.
idea. If all my posts are glorious flower language and then you show up, yeah, how y'all doing? It's not going to work.
And
Bait and
in terms
switch.
of empowerment, I want to give you one thing to ponder. Sometimes I've been posting on the internet since the mid '90s, so I'm a Digisaurus, like a friend of mine. I've been, and I've been using social media from the very beginning, and one might say that I am a very experienced user in the sense that I have published not hundreds but thousands of social media updates.
I would
And
imagine.
yeah, one would I like to say that writing is a muscle, but still, sometimes content comes easy. Sometimes you need more time. You might be in a good mood and quickly share an anecdote, and that post resonates. But it's more difficult to me, at least, with the thought leadership content, because that is mostly about explaining stuff. And that is one thing I found out. I've also been teaching at University of Vienna for more than 20 years. In order to really understand something, I need to be able to explain it to others. And that is often an amazing experience. You read an article quickly and you think you understood something. That happens to me regularly. And then I make a newsletter, I write a newsletter about it, or a post, or whatever, or I do a short presentation. And while doing this, questions arise. And
Yes.
you have to go deeper down the rabbit hole and do your research. And that gives you a lot of insights. So what I'm trying to say here, I'm teaching because I really love teaching. And I'm also, one of the reasons why I'm publishing so much tutorial-based content is that it helps me learn a lot. And that is a very nice synergy effect that we often overlook. You do not just post for your network, you also post to hone your own skills. That is
Yes.
very, very important
I
for
mean,
me.
if I could do these emojis here, I can't because oh yes, I can. Like that light bulb moment, that is like gold, gold. I mean, if I could write my own aha moment, that's it. And I found it also for myself. It's even when I was in high school, I couldn't really grasp something deeply until I could teach another. And I know the US medical
Exactly.
system for
Yeah.
teaching doctors, it's see one, do one, teach one. I also have experience as a dance teacher, and like if I can do it, but then as soon as you get a question, how do you do that? I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
deeply know it until I can teach it and pass it on to
Yeah.
another. And Michelle gave us a really good quote about leadership. You're not really a leader until you can teach a leader who can teach a leader who can become a
Yeah.
leader, grow a leader who can become a grower leader. It's about passing it on and knowing it deeply at your core. So, yes, welcome to everyone who's just showing up and dropping aha moments like there's no tomorrow. I love this. And quick question, and you've kind of already talked about this, but just to catch it back for anyone who's just showing up now, most of my clients, most of the people who I speak to are not content creators. They don't want to be content creators. That's not their focus. And so they're like, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to do content. And this is where the empowerment piece that you do so well, I think, just resonates. How can people, not average, professionals, leaders in the thing that they do really well, which isn't content creation, but something else, how can they get all these benefits without being sucked in and in this like rabbit hole of content creation and motivation seeking? So yeah, how do you determine for yourself when and what to share? Do you set up a schedule? Do you how would you recommend navigating that process?
It really depends on your personal style of working. I am not a huge fan of planning. I'm more, ideas come spontaneously. And one thing that I made a habit, which I've learned from my colleague Martin Holtes, who is specialized in productivity, make it a habit to always write down ideas. I go on a lot of walks with my dogs, and usually I have my best ideas during these walks. And if I don't write them in my notebook, or I send a lot of emails to myself still. I just need to have some collection. Then, when you have time, go through these ideas. That's a very good way to overcome writer's block. If you tend to work in a more organized way. Nothing against planning your posts. You could even schedule them natively, but keep one thing in mind. After publishing, a post is not done. It's not fire and forget. There is one factor that has a huge influence. You need to moderate your post, or as my colleague Richard van der Blom calls it, perturing. That word is composed of posting and nurturing. Um, Recently, I also read Nurblishing, so nurturing and publishing. I also like that one. But either way, it's your responsibility as the author to keep the discussion going. might be a bit frustrating, especially in the beginning when you have very little connections. But as soon as someone comments, try to draw them into a conversation, tag people in the comments, add some insights. This kind of nurturing is very, very important for your reach. But either way, if you're more like a spontaneous guy, so for example, I plan my day according to my LinkedIn posting activities. No, I don't. I get up early in the morning anyways, but I usually always do my post before I start the first meeting. But it's really up to you. Some people prefer to write in the evening, but I would like to give you one image or one idea, and I'm afraid you will not easily get it out of your heads. So blame me. I'm sure you've all heard of Ulysses, the Greek hero who conquered Troja, or he is it Troya or Troja in English? I've always wondered. No one.
Troy.
Troy. Thank you very
But
much.
but it was the Trojan War and the
The Trojan
Trojan
horse. Yeah,
horse.
exactly,
Yeah, so Troy is the city, and yeah, so like
exactly.
Vienna and Viennese.
Yeah. I'm normally not a fan of war-based metaphors, but content is a Trojan horse, clearly. I mean, you don't hide an army inside and you're not trying to conquer a city, but think of it this way. Um, we all spend, I'm sure that all of us, or all of you who are listening in now, are spending time in the LinkedIn newsfeed. And we don't do that to consume one ad after another. We want to read interesting facts, interesting news. We don't want to read advertising all the time. That's the one side. On the other hand, those of us, the majority of us who spend time publishing their own post, of course, we want to advertise our services, our products. So how to deal with that conundrum? That's where the Trojan horse comes in. The Trojan horse is the interesting content that you hide your ad message inside. And there is a very single, I'm a huge fan of the philosopher Ockham, Ockham's razor. If there are a couple of explanations, probably the most simple one is true. And my LinkedIn razor for publishing stuff on the newsfeed is one simple rule, and you have to be honest with yourself. Would I find this interesting or appealing if I read it? And
That's
LinkedIn is
a
not a
great
general, yeah,
filter.
it's not a general interest platform. In order to answer that question, you need to be very aware of your target audience. Some people might have multiple target audiences, but address every single post to one target audience. So I have two major target audiences, heads of marketing and heads of sales. So they are interested in different aspects. Consider who you're writing your status update for, and then honestly answer the question: if I was in this person's shoes, would I find it interesting? Would it be helpful for me? Would it be inspiring? Or is it just blatant advertising? In
Yeah.
that case, kill it.
And that's really, you talk about the pull and the repel and advertising. I mean, we're so inundated in 2024 with advertising everywhere all the time. But you were dropping major goal, and I want to do a poll right now. We're doing a poll. We are at 33 minutes, which is a bit
Yes.
over time, but I want to do a poll right now in the chat. And I want you to tell me, you're hearing all this information, all of this good stuff. Tell me, how do you feel right now? Are you cat A? This is the catometer. Are you feeling cat H? Like, huh? What is he talking about? This is way over my head. Are you more cat E? Like, yeah. Where are you? And Michelle, oh my goodness, thank you, Michelle. You're not a leader until you can develop another leader who can develop another leader. That was the quote that I misquoted. So I'll put that up there so you can read that as well. While you're commenting in the chats now, I see we are 53 people. I want you to vote. How do you feel right now? Which cat are you on the catometer? We've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, just like the alphabet. Just like the alphabet. What about you, Richie? Which one are you feeling?
F, definitely F. I mean, the
we've
you
got Roman coming in with letter
too cute.
E. Yay! I'm definitely feeling E. I'm definitely feeling E. You're an F. You're an F with the ears, the antlers.
Yeah,
I love
the
that.
antlers are just too cute.
That
Spent a
is
month in Finland once and saw a lot of reindeers. Very impressive animals, but that's an impressive cat as well, of course.
yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we got some e-cat. E seemed like a pretty happy cat to me.
Yeah, we've got some
Yeah,
E's. That's the
awesome.
what did I just hear? And if you can do more than one keystroke, I mean, if you're driving, you know what? Don't comment. I want to keep you alive and healthy. But if you can do more than one keystroke, like, yeah, what were some of your aha moments? What did you hear that you don't want to forget today? I would love to know that. And I have two quick questions left for you, Richie, if we can go a little bit over time. So the first one is, and actually, you've done a lot of really great empowerment and encouragement. I just hearts everywhere from my side. But what advice would you give to either an earlier you or someone who's just now starting out specifically with video content? Because I know that you do a lot of short form video, and today we're doing more of a long form video. What advice or words would you want to share with someone who's curious or just starting out with that?
Specifically for LinkedIn, but as a general rule in video, and this might surprise you a bit, audio is key. Audio is the most important part. We are quite forgiving when it comes to images, a little bit of unsharpness here and there, a little bit of colors that are off, that's all fine. But if you watch a video and the sound is not crystal clear, it's hard to understand, you have a hard time understanding what the people are saying, um, these videos will not work. And
No.
especially on LinkedIn, about 50% of your audience will not have their speakers turned on and will not wear headphones. So make it a habit to always use subtitles. You can either subtitle the whole video, tools like Premiere do that with the click of a button, but make at least sure that you include enough textual information so that the video would also work without the sound. Keep it
That's
short,
really good.
um, ideally under 90 seconds, and punchy. And I know we all love logos and intros, but we all always in a hurry, especially in the newsfeed. Forget intros or anything. If I've learned anything from the big and successful YouTube creators, shout outs to Mr. Beast, um, always jump directly into the video. That is super, super important. And the one advice that I would give to an earlier me, I've been using LinkedIn for quite a while. I started quite early, but I used it like I used Twitter in the beginning to generate traffic to my website.
Mhm.
Um, I would say I spent a lot of time on Instagram, Twitter, and other networks. My advice would be forget all these networks, focus solely on LinkedIn. It's more interesting and much more satisfying, and ultimately also a lot more rewarding.
I love that. I love that. I want to read off a few comments we've got Catherine Reed here, and she said she missed it live, so she's going to go back and watch the replay. And I think that's a good reminder
Oh, wow.
also that just what you said before about when you post, it's not fire and forget it. People will come back and watch the replay. People will come back and make comments. And if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and hashtag replay and start this conversation with us. And if you're not following Richie, please do so. Connect. And also with me, we want to keep this conversation going. And I also see she's tagging some people. Roman Walther also says things you remember are either connected with emotions or repeated over and over. Yes, he's pulling out that aha moment from before. I'll pull this up here. I like this insight.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I actually use a quote from Maya Angelou, and she says, people will forget what you said and they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I like to keep
Absolutely.
that front of mind. And I think back, a perfect example, and Richie, you also mentioned in school, like how we learn things, how we remember. And I think of my favorite teacher. You know what? I don't remember really what she taught us. I mean, I'm sure she taught us a second grade. So letters, numbers. I don't really remember what she said, but I will never forget how she made me feel. I will never forget that. And
I
lucky me, I'm
totally
connected
agree.
with her still. She came to Vienna and we met each other here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Absolutely.
random Facebook connection. So,
Wow.
yeah, the
So
benefit of
Meta
social media.
Meta is good for something. still.
Yeah, I mean, that was
Oh,
6 years ago, but
okay, okay, okay.
but one last question. We are speaking in English now, and as I understand, a lot of your material, a lot of your content can be in German or in English, and you're multilingual. Do you speak any other languages?
No, unfortunately not. I only
Not yet.
learned Latin in school. Yeah, I'm trying to learn Spanish, but I'm in the very early
Cool.
stages.
Good for you. Toy, toy, toy. But how do you decide which language to use when?
Yeah, normally I would say, on the with the profile, with your LinkedIn profile, you can set that up in multiple languages. Do that if you speak these languages. Very interesting also in terms of keyword optimization. But for the content, you have to decide. One thing that does not work on LinkedIn is publishing bilingual status updates. So a status update with an English and a German part, for example, in my case. And normally I would say, um, figure out which native language the majority of your network speaks. And it's a bit off for me because when I started on LinkedIn, I published in English. And like 8 or 9 years ago, very few people in the DACH area posted in German. And then they changed and I started posting in German. And the majority of my network, I think about 80%, are native German speakers. But then some point last year, I think in October or so, I decided to completely switch back to English. And the reason is I primarily that cost me a lot of reach in the beginning, but I'm not in this game for reach. I want to publish for the audience I'm trying to reach, and I have more and
Mhm.
more international clients. I coach a lot of teams who do not speak German, and I want them be able to understand my content easily. And I'm very aware that LinkedIn puts the translation button everywhere. But the thing is, and I think that is something most of us know from personal experience, we only click the translate button if we're already really interested in the
Yeah.
author. Normally, you
If
you
it's
don't.
worth it.
Yeah,
That's
if
an
it's worth
extra
it.
step. That's an
Exactly,
extra step.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
that's how lazy we are. And the other thing is, for example, and I think this is very much the same in a lot of other European countries, all of my German connections are easily able to understand English even
Mhm.
without hitting that button. And some read the status updates, but for a lot of them, it's a big hurdle to comment in English. I don't mind at all when someone comments in German, but some people think, okay, he's publishing in English, so I need to comment in English, and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but still, like I said, I'm always trying to keep the long run in mind. And I think one of the great things about LinkedIn is that it enables us to connect with experts worldwide. I have some super interesting connections in India by now. Very, very interesting country in terms of what's going on with LinkedIn there. So
Absolutely.
that was ultimately the reason why I decided to prioritize English for my content.
Fascinating. I love that, and I love the story how you switched back and forth depending. I've also noticed, and I'd like your opinion on this, when I'm translating, when I hit the translate button, if it's already in German or in Chinese or in Hindi, and then I translate to English versus if it's in English and I translate to another language, do you notice a difference in the quality?
Huge difference, huge
Yeah,
difference. Like with ChatGPT, it works a lot better with English. I mean, compared to German or a couple of other languages, English has a less complicated grammatical structure, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is that all of these translation tools are mostly trained with English texts. So
exactly.
that
And that's what
simply
I would
works better.
say.
Yeah. Um, and it's a huge, huge difference. So translating back to German, it often produces really weird results. And yeah, and that's really of course something you want to avoid. But it's I think ultimately my favorite version, my preferred version would be the ability to handle this like on the profile. So for
Yeah.
example, publishing a status update in English and in German, two language versions or even multiple language versions, and then everybody gets it displayed in their favorite language. So in
Yeah.
my case, native German speakers in German, all the rest in English.
Yeah.
But that's not possible yet, and as far as I know, that's also not on the
Not
roadmap.
on
But
the
that would be
planning.
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's I hate when language is a barrier. I love
Yeah,
when
me too.
language
Me
is a
too.
connector.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a comment here from Catherine. My posts sometimes get comments. So she's talking,
Hmm.
referring to what you said
Yeah.
about the comments in both English, German, sometimes French, but mostly English. Like my WeChat gets comments in Chinese too. And yeah, I would say for anyone thinking about commenting, let me encourage you, comment in whatever language you want. It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
on us
Yeah.
to figure out what you're
Yeah.
saying, to respond and to nurture that conversation. So I always encourage people, use whichever language works for you, and we'll find a way. We'll
And that's
find a way to
also
make it work.
That's also one of the things I find interesting, one of the few things I find interesting about the collaborative articles, because LinkedIn has decided to not split this into different language versions, like he would have probably done a couple of years ago when
Yeah.
setting up such a project. But it's one version, but people get it displayed in different languages, auto-translated, the content as well as the contributions. So,
Okay.
I mean, we are still in the early beginning of this, but
How's the
translation services.
translation?
Um, I'm using it in English, so I
Okay.
think not that great in some other languages, but this is still at the really early stages. Just imagine the quality of these auto translations in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And
I
that's
think
the
we'll see a lot of
exciting thing.
improvements
We
there.
are seeing improvements every 6 months. I mean, even
Yeah,
faster, really. I mean, it's a wonderful time to be alive,
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
But we are way over time, but there was so much gold here, so many valuable insights and conversations. I didn't want to end it. So, yeah, but I respect people who I'm sure they're monitoring their own time, and it's recorded. So you can always come back and watch the bits you didn't see. Or as Catherine Reed said, she's going to come back and watch the replay anyway. And please do comment, drop emojis, let us know what's happening so that we can continue this conversation with you. And now I want to give you because I'm really focused on LinkedIn now and getting more people doing LinkedIn lives. Specifically, this is kind of my heart of heart, encouraging people, especially those who are not doing it yet. Those people who say, oh my God, I can't do that, not me. Or, oh, I have a voice for radio, not for video. I want to encourage you to do it. And in fact, I'm going to give you not a little, I'm going to give you a short, quick 2 minute. See, here we are. A 2 minute go live with these LinkedIn live readiness quiz. So you can use that link. I'll also drop it in the chat after we're finished. I can do it now, but use the QR code. If you have your screen, you can do that. It's a 2 minute quiz and it goes through the 4 pillars of what it takes to be ready for a live event and just gives you quick, clear feedback to help you go through that process and start getting your voice, start getting your name, your face. And it's another way to publish content. Richie mentioned that it's important to try new things and that the algorithm will reward you for that. So why not live streaming? I'm a huge fan of it. I'm a huge fan of it. Want to leave that up, but I also want us to be bigger. So can I take it down? Yes, I'm going to take it down, having a little conversation with myself. I'm going to take that down. There we go, so that we can say our goodbyes. Thank you. I see there are 50 people in here live, and it just updated 42. 40. I guess they didn't like the QR
Overtime,
code.
overtime. They are still
Yeah.
bearing with us.
What are we gonna do? You know what? The numbers don't lie. So, we're going back up. It was 45. Okay. So I want to thank you for being live with us today, and thank you everyone who was here listening live, especially commenting, dropping emojis, letting us know your questions, your thoughts. I've already received some DMs, some private direct messages about this. And yeah, please connect with us. Please continue this conversation even after the live's over. I mean, we did continue it a few minutes over, but that doesn't mean we want to stop.
Yeah, that's why we're on LinkedIn. We
That's
want
what
to
we
start
mean.
conversations.
Yes, absolutely. So, any words you'd like to leave us with on this fine sunny day before you go back out with the frogs?
Yeah, become efficient in your dealings with LinkedIn so you can spend more time outside.
I think that's it. You just
Yeah, it's
broke
very important.
You just broke all the aha moments. Just that's it. Be efficient with your time on LinkedIn. So yeah, it's a great tool, but it's a tool, it's not your life, right? It doesn't have to be. I don't want it.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Be efficient with your use and get outside and live life. I love that. That is it. Thanks, guys. Catherine Reese says, I'll be sure to go and watch the visit I missed. Yes, please. Applause, applause. And again, thank you all for being here today.
Thank you for joining us.
To get out